A sauna, short for persona, is a character interpretation of yourself which embodies your personality, identity, or aesthetic. In short, a form of self-expression. What if one day you woke up as your sauna? What would you do? Well, if you were to ask me, I would get naked, look at the mirror, and smile for the first time. In case you are new here, I am Komiosis. Well, this is Komiosis, but it is also me since it's my sauna. Without me, this drawing is nothing, and without this sauna, I am a nobody, because it is me. My artist, who is also one of my close friends, brought this sauna to life. My sauna has long white hair tied into twin tails and bangs, yellow eyes, yellow glasses, a hoodie, white thigh highs, and the iconic egg on top. My artist aptly named this piece Egg, or at least that's what he calls it when he refers to it when talking to me, because it's weird if he talked about komiosis too, komiosis. But here's one striking feature I forgot to mention about this sauna. This sauna is a 150cm girl with a slim body, and in case you haven't noticed, the voice you're listening to is a man. Hello, I am Komiosis. I am a 20-year-old man born and raised in the Philippines. I am 5'10", 200 pounds, and I go to the gym. So yes, compared to my sauna, I look like a freak of nature. If you need a more clear imagery of what that looks like, think Frieren next to Sisyphus Prime from Ultra Kill. Since I was a kid, I never really was happy with the body that I was born in. To be blunt, I think I was born fat. I can safely say this because I have a brother, and even though we ate the same amount of food and I was more active than him, I was still bigger than him. He got the better end of the genetic stick. I was fat when I was young, and as I got older, I was still fat. Partially, I would blame my father for this because being fat would be from his gene pool, and he would also groom me to be a glutton because whenever my mom would reprimand him for overfeeding me, all that he would say is, "It's fine, he's growing up." Well, shit, it wasn't fine, but he didn't know that because I couldn't tell him that because he is dead. Going to the gym really helped me because it turned me from being fat to being a big guy. I don't look fat anymore, I look massive. Since I filled in spots that's usually empty for fat people, I have big shoulders, big traps, a visible V-taper, I felt much more confident. One of the best effects of going to the gym is how I dressed. Before, when I wasn't a gym rat, I would refuse any form of clothing that hugs my skin because it made me feel disgusted. I have unusually large breasts courtesy of the genetics my father has, but since going to the gym, having big boobies would also mean I have great potential to have big chest muscles, which I do. So now I always wear tight-fitted, high% polyester clothing so I can show off my massive chest. Speaking of clothing, one of my favorite articles of clothing are jackets and hoodies because it would hide all of the parts of my body I felt ashamed of. Wearing a hoodie made me feel normal. My sauna wears a hoodie because that exact hoodie is my favorite hoodie I used to always wear because without it back then, I didn't even want to go outside since I hated how I looked. Why didn't you try to lose weight? I already lost weight. I am constantly losing weight and regaining it back and losing it again. Back in 2022 is when I learned how to lose weight through intermittent fasting. What it does is that it forces you into small eating windows which stops you from snacking, thus reducing your caloric intake. My favorite timer is 18:6, although I would often dabble into 24 and sometimes 1 meal a day. There was a time when I was in senior high school around 2023 where I would be addicted to losing weight. During that time, I went from 115 kilograms to 92 kilograms in a small amount of time. One of the things I did since I really hate myself is that I did not eat for 3 days straight during finals week, so no sleep and no food. In those 3 days, I lost 3 kilograms. I would love to do that again, but I cannot manage to do it. I don't know what happened to me 3 years ago. Mentally, I hate eating, but physically, I cannot stop myself from eating. There would be times I would eat a lot of food and then minutes later try to force myself to puke it out because I felt disgusting eating a lot of food. I don't know, I just can't help it. There are times I would also wish I would get sick with something like cancer so I could lose weight. I feel like there's genuinely something wrong with my body because even though I genuinely hate being overweight and actively try to stop overeating, my body keeps on grabbing food. Maybe this is also attributed to me having depression and ADHD. I also consider stress eating as my coping mechanism. At times, during extreme emotional distress, I would just eat food to the point of regurgitating it. For me, what it does is that it makes me focus more on the fact that I am so full I want to explode than what I am facing emotionally. Sometimes I also find myself eating a lot of food my mom has stockpiled just as a form of revenge when she becomes mean towards me. I don't know, I think there's a genuine problem between me and it's like a toxic relationship I can never leave. If you're Filipino, you know that we're addicted to taking pictures, or at least that's what the older ones usually do. If you look at my camera roll, you would only find two types of pictures: screenshots of my social media accounts and sunny side up eggs. Stereotypically, gym rats have a habit of taking mirror shots after going to the gym and then posting themselves on an Instagram story. But I almost never do that. I do that around once every 6 months to let people know I am still alive. Whenever my family and I go out, my mom would often initiate taking pictures. I never looked at those pictures because I hate how I looked. I would always beg my mother to not post any with me included in them, not because I am antisocial, but I just really don't want to see myself. I've been mulling over this for quite some time now that I came to the conclusion that even if I manage to look my ideal self, I will never be satisfied, because no matter what I do, I will never be. I love role-playing games. Genshin Impact, Wuthering Waves, Toram Online, and recently Elden Ring. Because one, it gives you so much freedom and keeps you engaged for long periods of time. Two things an ADHDer appreciates, but the reason I like RPG games the most is because of character customization. Having a female avatar in video games while being a man has always been a joke, allegedly for practical purposes of having a smaller hitbox, or some would say they have better options with accessories and costumes. Well, as for me, to put it simply, I just want to be a girl. Ever since I touched RPGs with character customization, I would consistently dress up myself as a girl. First being Toram Online. During my 2-year ordeal with Toram Online, I've made 14 character slots, 13 of them being a girl and only 1 being a guy. And it was the character I used to put dyes in clothes that I would use on my girl characters. I didn't play that character because it was made solely for dyeing clothes. In my original Genshin Impact account, I picked Lumine. When I played Star Rail for 5 minutes, I picked Stell. I picked female rover in Wuwa. I picked the female knight in Guardian Tales. I have a female model in Roblox. My character in Elden Ring is also female. To be honest, being a guy is a pretty good cover when picking your characters because you can always hide under the guise that you picked the female one because you like looking at girls, but truthfully, you actually want to be one of them. One time during one of my live streams, one of my viewers, their username is Lane, they asked me, would you actually rather live as a girl or a guy? Without a second thought, I said I'd rather live as a girl. I forgot what my reasoning was at that time, so I'm going to answer it again. I would rather live as a girl because first, I am a very curious person. I would love to know how the other half of the population lives in order for me to understand them better. I would also love to live as a girl because I already lived plenty of years as a guy. A little variation would be fun, right? But to be completely honest, I would rather live as a girl because I feel like if I did, I would be at my happiest. And chasing happiness is one of my principles. I am tired of denying it while every single thing I do that is related to self-expression points to me wanting to be a girl. I always played as a girl in video games, and I have a huge appreciation of generally feminine labeled stuff like cute hair clips and strawberry vanilla flavored anything. Fragrances, ice cream flavor, even the flavor of the vape I have is strawberry mint. This then brings up the question, why not transition? I have thought of it the past few months. I only end up with one answer, which is no. Despite eagerly wanting to be a girl, out of respect towards my mother, I would not. I also like being a guy at the same time. Being a massive guy has its benefits. 1. No one tries to bully you. 2. No one tries to mug you. 3. You can be strong as fuck and do everything on your own. And 4. You can garner respect way faster. Unfortunately, the society we live in, despite the efforts of feminism, is still misogynistic and is still predominantly patriarchal. That aside, even if I live in the ideal world that everyone is truly equal and no one hurts another human being, I still wouldn't. Because even if I manage to look like a girl, I can change how my bones are like. I feel like if I did transition, I would be stuck in a different kind of loop wherein no matter how I try, I will never be what I want to be, so the more sane decision is to be content with what I have. A lot of content I've made gives a lot of focus on topics concerning gender, like why is gay son or thought daughter even an argument, why religious homophobes turn gay, why does Ultracal have a huge LGBTQ player base. Throughout making these videos, I learned a lot about concepts surrounding sexuality and such, and in turn made me rethink my own sexuality, things such as the Kinsey scale, where I discovered I am a 1 and slightly leaning towards 2. Making these videos allowed me to explore my identity in a more systematic and informed way, which prevented me from feeling lost. I have a slight attraction towards people of the same sex, but only if they present themselves as feminine, so it means I am attracted to femininity. I actually also thought of coming out as bisexual because maybe I am, but the more I think about it, the more I realize I am far from being a bisexual because it is hard for me to imagine myself being in a long-term relationship with a same-sex partner. One major reason is that I want to have a child. I exclusively date for long-term relationships and I won't try dating short-term just to check my sexuality because that is disrespectful towards the other party. I feel that also amounts to using someone, which is the last thing I would want to do to someone I'd be in a relationship with. And another glaring factor is that I am too traumatized to be gay. I was sexually assaulted by a person of the same sex when I was a child, and when thinking of being gay, that same scenario that happened when I was a kid flashes back in my mind. Since we're on the topic of dating, I think it's a good time we move on to over the past 3 years, I've only exclusively dated girls. For most men, it would be purely biological, but for me, it's also something else. I am not going to lie. I date women because I am sexually attracted to them, but for me, I also exclusively date women because through that, I get to garner knowledge of how it is to live as a woman. I don't know if it's weird, but when I check with myself if I would want to date someone, I always ask myself, would I love to look like her? One form of love is self-love, right? If you don't want to look like the one you love, how can you say you truly love them? It is also stupid to deny that physical attraction is not one of the biggest factors to look out for, as pointed out by one of my friends before. When I look at cute girls, I don't think, oh, she's cute as hell, I kinda like her. Sometimes I also think like, oh, she's cute as hell, I want to be cute like her. You see, me, or I mean my sauna, komiosis, is both me and someone I'd be attracted to if they were real. Is it self-obsessed? I don't think so, because my sauna is not actively existing as me. I don't know if this is very convoluted. What I'm trying to say is that the way my sauna is made is not just a reflection of my ideal self, but also the reflection of my ideal partner. Because if I cannot be a cute girl, I'd date one instead, because I feel like that's the closest I will get to be one. This doesn't mean what I'm looking for should look exactly as how I portrayed my sauna. What it means is that I am looking for someone I am attracted to enough that if I woke up one day in their body, I would be happy. I've spent the entire arc of my life where I've had a romantic relationship not loving myself. I doubt I would ever love myself. I have an insurmountable amount of hatred towards myself. So, a way I love myself is by loving other people. Even my friends, I love myself through treating my friends nicely. I don't know what it is with me, but I have a hard time being nice to myself. Maybe one of the reasons is because I am self-aware of my own mishaps that I cannot reward myself with kindness. I don't know how to forgive myself, but I do know how to justify my actions. But I think forgiving is the same as justifying, because forgiving is to accept things that have happened and move on. Justifying means you would always bring the weight of that action with you, but you move on just enough to keep moving. I have a lot of baggage. Events that happen in my life, I just cannot stop but share some responsibility, even though some of it is out of my control, or I was involved in it involuntarily or was manipulated into doing it. Even though I am self-aware of that, I still cannot find it within myself to forgive myself. I think I'm staying away from the chapter's topic too much. Let's just move on to the next. It's no secret that I've always wanted a daughter, but before this, I actually wanted a sister first. When I was still a bit younger and hadn't dated yet, I always wanted a sister. The reason being is that I have an urge to be protective towards someone. I also share this urge with dating, that's why I used to prefer girls that are on the softer side, but since going to the gym, I opened my horizons to women who are more masculine because at the end, they're women. I'll have my opportunities of being protective. Well, sometimes it's not even about the actions, it's the intentions. Anyways, daughter. When I got a little bit older and took the thought of having a daughter more seriously, I also thought about my attachment towards this idea. Is this purely biological? Not really. Every time I think about this, I always circle back to this thought. It's a response to trauma that I experienced as a child. As a response, I want to have a child myself and prove that I can do better at taking care of one than my parents. You see, when I was a bit younger, I was sexually assaulted by my own cousin, and that experience left a scar in me that will never disappear until the day I die. This experience solidified my yearning for a child. And that child being a daughter is tied to the fact that I have suppressed my feminine side and I want to express it through that. How does this relate to my Sona, Komi? Because I also see my Sona as my daughter. There was a point in time during my career online that I started to learn digital art, and one of the things I did was make not safe for work art of myself. But the more I thought of my relationship with my Sona, now also having paternal feelings towards my own Sona, I stopped doing that. Because it felt weird to sexualize your own daughter. In a sense, since my Sona is also myself, I think if given the chance, I would definitely try to be a better parent to myself than my parents. I never really liked the idea of taking care of other people's children. I find it very annoying. They're hard to control, they're overly reliant, they're messy, they're wild, but when it comes to the question if I want to have one that is mine, I never really cared about how hard it is gonna be, because of the way my life ended up, I will try my best to not make it hard for myself. Everything in this world always has a drawback. That's why one of my favorite mottos is everything is a double-edged sword. I also want to talk about potential drawbacks of the past chapters of this video, which might explain why I haven't done anything to get closer to these things that I want for myself. First is my body. There are a lot of drawbacks with transitioning, physical and social. Physically, I will definitely get weaker because I will lose my muscle mass. And I like being strong. My mom often relies on my strength to lift really heavy stuff, like sacks of rice and gallons of cooking oil. I often rely on my size, that's why I've never been in any fights or have experienced any attempts of robbery. I like being big and strong more, enough that I will not trans. I will also only exclusively date women. I strictly date for long-term monogamous relationships, and that means I would want to date someone I would want to marry. And I would want to marry someone that can conceive a child. I do not intend to throw shade at same-sex couples, it's a principle. I want a child, I want my child. No matter how you twist it, adopting will never be the same as having your wife conceive a child of yours. It's magical. I am not belittling other people who do this, I just want it this way. I always wanted to. Also, I will never come out as bisexual because it is unfair for other bisexuals or homosexuals. I only develop sexual relations with someone I wish to marry, and it goes against my principle to have sexual relations with someone I would not want to marry. And it's also unfair. I am incapable of loving someone of the same sex as others could because of my experiences. I do not want to stress other people with the fact that no matter what they do, they will never be enough. So, I will forever claim I am straight. Having a daughter has the biggest drawback out of all these. That's a whole-ass human you need to nurture. I don't know how to do that, but despite that, it's the one thing that despite any drawbacks, I will try my best to fight back just so I can achieve it. The conclusion to this video is simple. I am a closeted bisexual that is locked behind a vault hidden beneath Atlantis that also yearns to have a daughter, all caused by a traumatic experience. So for everyone who had a theory that my brand being represented by eggs is a symbol for me being trans but not realizing it yet, you may be right. I made this video thinking of the Pride Month and Men's Mental Health Awareness Month because it fits both categories. I thought that it being Pride Month, it would be safe enough for me to dive in a little deeper on my sexuality in public, online. And this has always been bothering me mentally for a while, so talking about it also fits in with Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. Since I don't have much to say in this part of the video anymore, I'm just gonna say this. I hate those men who cry Men's Mental Health Awareness Month on every Pride Month post. You're weird. A real man is an ally. Also, I hate those people who hate men for existing. You can't just keep on using the card, not all men, and real men know it's not them we're talking about. Generalizing half the population because of a bad experience or even others' experience is counterintuitive. You're villainizing them, instead of turning them into allies, thus generating more misogynists. Should I start calling all men bad because I was a victim myself and I've seen atrocities committed by men? No, because I know a lot of good men, and generalizing men denies their existence. This whole gender war thing is stupid is what I'm trying to say. Since it's Pride Month, I also want to say that I love all my gays. A good chunk of my community are celebrating Pride Month. They're really nice people. Except when you attack them because of their gender, because why would you do that? Who they want to kiss has nothing to do with you. They reserve every right to be mad if you do that, and I'm not defending you. Trust me, be nice to the world, and the world will be nice to you back. That's about it for this video. I hope you listened to the end. This video is really personal to me and it took a lot from me to make this, so thank you if you made it this far. 10,000 subs, I eat 30 eggs in one sitting and on video. 100k subs, I face reveal. If you want to support me, I have a Patreon, it's $1 a month. Shout out to our Patreon members, KirbyMain645. Shout out to Zoids12 for helping out with the thumbnail, and Fabi for... actually, I don't know, she just asked me for it. You also have the option of subscribing. That also helps out a ton. Thank you for watching. Thank you for DMing, Lane. I already answered that question in a stream before.
Yeah.
Like, Lane asked...
it's a different question though.
Would you actually rather live as a girl or a guy? No, I hate to say this, but living as a guy has more benefits.
You
Or-
don't see the benefits of living as a guy.
Or living as a girl has more drawbacks than living as a guy.
Oh.
Yeah, as much as I'd want to live as a girl, if I had a choice, I could just rationally I can't. It would be the stupidest
If you ask me
decision.
that question, I would answer to be a girl instead before even finish the question.
If you,
I don't want to-
There are no drawbacks socially, like socially speaking. There are no drawbacks.
I don't want to be.
Which
I want.
always
Women
give you more
get
advantage.
interrupted
I
more
don't-
often than men.